what's up, everybody? I thought I'd go live real quick just to go through a few things. Hopefully, this won't be too long. I'm just going to share some thoughts on a lot of stuff because a lot of stuff's going on. I don't know if anybody's paying attention, but lots of stuff is going on right now. And so I'm going to share a couple of those things. Then I'm going to share my thoughts on where I think we're at in the biblical timeline. So if you're here with me, thanks for joining. It's late right now. I couldn't sleep. It's not because I'm like freaked out or anything. I'm really not at all. Just sometimes I just can't sleep. So I think it's because I took a nap at like 7 p.m. Anyhow, so I'm out here in the studio, and I'm just going to share a couple things to get started, and then we'll go from there. So just going to update you on a couple of things that people have shared with me. So first, we'll watch this Canadian prepper real quick. Let's use the screen here and watch this.
This is Admiral Rob Bauer, chair of the NATO Military Committee, one of the top dogs in NATO, advising the planet that we need to prepare for World War III and that you need to start stockpiling stuff like there's no tomorrow. Let's see what he has to say.
You need to have water, you need to have a radio on batteries, and you need to have a flashlight on batteries to make sure that you can survive the first 36 hours. Things like that. That's
Okay, maybe I exaggerated a little bit. Apparently, after 36 hours into World War III, everything's going to be just fine. The government's going to save us all.
simple things, but it starts there. The realization that not everything is plannable, not everything is going to be hunky-dory in the next 20 years. I'm not saying it is going wrong tomorrow,
I'm not.
but we have
It's
to
like
realize
backing up.
it's not a given that we are in peace.
I'd have to agree with him with that statement because
All right. So this guy in NATO, he's pretty high up there. He's warning people. He seems freaked out to me. We're gonna watch this one. This is Tim Pool. This is an alternate news source. Just a couple things. Basically, this guy, he's going to talk about how. Let's do this for you. He's going to be talking about how he thinks there's a global cataclysm, and he's super smart, dude. You should listen to what he has to say, even though he's a heliocentrist, and totally not. However, these guys, they're looking at data, and they're looking at the sky, they're looking at what's changing up there. Basically, what he's saying is there's some shifts going on in the cosmos, and I think that they can detect those, even if they have the misconception that we're a ball in outer space, flying like a corkscrew around the sun and stuff like that. He does believe that there's stuff going on, and that he would say there is a global cataclysm about 10 years away. So I'm not trying to freak anybody out. I'm just sharing this stuff real quick, and then I'm gonna give my 2 cents. All right. It's kind of what this channel's about this year.
Juvenile presentation of the science, but I mean, it's weird. I can with pretty good certainty explain not only what's going to happen, but give us a timeline of late 2030s to 2040s. It's not hard to do the math. The sun, it could blast out a solar flare tomorrow that sends us back to the Stone Age. There's
All right, I'll skip to this ending part here.
guesses, and I mean, there's no way to really know unless you go in there.
If we heat it up,
I think it's more like right
Where they
here.
can
Oh,
land,
yeah.
they can land planes.
yeah, and we have that vault in Switzerland, maybe where they have
Small-
all the seeds.
small
seed vault.
Nah,
Yeah.
that's not it.
Mostly on the internet, it's all real, and we need to pay attention to it. But they just need to realize that if it seems like the powers that be are acting recklessly, it's because they know there will be no reckoning. If it seems like they are quickly now undercutting and not hiding in the shadows, spending like there's no tomorrow, it's because they know on a certain timeline there isn't one.
And they're building underground.
Yes,
This has been
they
going on for a long time. There's mountain bunkers built into mountains where they can land,
yeah.
they can land planes.
Yeah, and we have that vault in Switzerland, maybe where they have
Small-
all the seeds.
small
seed vault.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Basically, global cataclysm. Hard to say. Global cataclysm. It talks about solar flare could kill us tomorrow. No. I don't think that's the case. However, I'm going to tell you where I think we're at, and maybe you've heard of this thing called the Greater Exodus. Now, if you haven't, I made this graphic real quick, and honestly, I'm not super prepared for this stream. And honestly, I need to be really careful with what I say on this stream because a lot of this stuff that is going on, maybe you've heard of. I don't know if this is gonna get me flagged, but Disease X, which people are talking about May, so what was given in the year 2020, if you got a little thingy in you, basically what's talked about is the lipid nanoparticles. Nobody knows what's in the lipid nanoparticle. And basically all of these companies who gave you this thing, they all got the lipid nanoparticle from the same source. And that source has that patented, and there's no way of knowing what is in that thing. And basically it can be triggered. It can be given and triggered. And so you need to be really careful. I would say start detoxing and stuff. I think Witsit Gets It. He did a really good stream on this tonight, actually. So I was watching that. But you have to watch it on like Rumble or Shark Fin. Yeah, watch it on like Rumble or something like that because he got flagged on YouTube. To this side of my face and stuff. He got flagged on YouTube. He got demonetized on YouTube for talking about cosmology. Like, so nuts, dude, how that, you know that you're onto something if you're getting demonetized for talking about cosmology. Like, and he's not some naive little punk, he's a very intelligent person. Anyway, so stuff's going to go on this year. I think everyone knows that. You talk to anybody, whether they're atheists or Christians or whatever. You talk to my dog. He knows there's stuff going on. I think there's frequencies. Something weird that's been going on with me and my wife is, every now and again you'll hear like a really high pitched like frequency in your head, right? You hear that. And what I've been doing is experimenting. I'm telling my wife, like, do you hear that? She's like, yeah, I hear that too. It's like, okay, is it this? And I pull out my phone and I hit a note on my keyboard on my phone. She's like, yeah, that's the note. So there's stuff flying through the air. There's stuff going on. I think we've been prepped for many years. But basically what I'm going to be talking about right now, not to freak anybody out, but to give you peace. This is my goal today, to give us peace. Because all of this is planned out. This has all been in order. I've been doing a series that, Yah never changes his mind. He never changes his mind. And what he has established from the beginning, it is so to the end. He's the Aleph and he's the Ta. If you look at Genesis 1:1, in Genesis 1:1, there's something that does not translate into any language. There's an Aleph and there's a Ta in Genesis 1:1, and nobody knows what to do with it. It's just there as if there's a person there. And that's what it says in Revelation. Yeshua says, I am the Aleph and the Ta, right? Or the Alpha and the Omega in Greek. So, but he would have probably been speaking to John at Patmos in Hebrew, right? So he has it all under control. And I'm going to show you that right here. If you have questions about the greater Exodus. Now, I'm under the impression that end times prophecy, it goes all over the place. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm not going to set a date. I'll tell you what I think. Doesn't mean I'm right. Okay? I'm not claiming to be right about any of this, honestly. I'm just saying this is what I think. This is where we're at. I have up here a biblical timeline. And unlike, dispensationalism or a lot of futurist views or preterist views, basically preterism thinks that everything was fulfilled 70 AD. Now, I look at preterism and I say, they're on to a lot of stuff. They're right about a lot of stuff. Eschatologically, they're right about a lot of stuff. However, we're still here, right? We're still here. We're dealing with the flesh still. And they would say, well, the spiritual fulfillment has taken place. And then I still have questions that have not been answered with preterism. I have questions that have not been answered with a lot of futurist views, dispensationalism, rapture, pre-trib, post-trib, mid-trib. It's like, where are the verses? Where are the verses? I do understand. I do believe there is a resurrection that will take place at the last trumpet, and I think I know about the time of year that takes place as well. That would be during the fall feast, I think, during Feast of Trumpets, I think. But anyways, you're going to be tempted to label me in this stream. You're going to be like, okay, he's a futurist. He believes this. He's a dispensational. I'm not. I can tell you right now, I don't even know a lot of those, the fullness of those teachings. What I'm going to show you is the Exodus. And it's weird because I haven't heard a lot of people talk about the Exodus as their outline for where we're at in the timeline of the redemption timeline. All right. This is going to be very brief, basically. I have up here the Exodus of Egypt with Israel. We have Egypt, right? We have Egypt's judgment with water. Egypt was judged, right? And the army was destroyed by water. Then we have Jerusalem's judgment in 70 AD. And we see in John 12, you can look up these verses, John 12, Yeshua, Jesus, says, now is the judgment. Now is the time when the rule of this world will be cast out. And I take that to mean as potentially we're in the millennial reign right now. And you might disagree with me, but what are the key elements of the millennial reign? And you can read in a lot of the epistles where they say you have been given life, you have been resurrected, you are born again, you have been resurrected. So the first resurrection seems to have happened with the coming of the Spirit, as we'll get into here in a sec. So we have, after Egypt's judgment, they went to Sinai. They went into the wilderness. They went to Sinai at the mountain, and the law was given, Pentecost. Over here, the giving of the Spirit was also Pentecost. That's Acts 2. Over here, you have the Levitical priesthood that was given at Sinai, right? And then you have the Melchizedek priesthood given with Messiah. You get that in Hebrews 8. 1 Peter 2:9 says, you are kings and priests. You are living stones. And so I think that we are, technically. Some people would say not yet fully, and I would agree, not yet fully. But however, he is ruling and reigning in us. Then we have sacrifice of animals, spiritual sacrifices, law on stone tablets, law on our hearts. Bread of life, bread of life. Yeshua says, who's the bread of life? He says, I'm the bread of life. I read this morning, John 6. Rock in the wilderness. He says he's the rock in the wilderness, 1 Corinthians 10:4. Physical Ark of the Covenant. I'm going to explain all this real quick in a sec. Physical Ark of the Covenant. We are the dwelling place. We are the tabernacle of the Lord. He is dwelling in us. We are the dwelling place of the Spirit, which came in Acts 2. He came with fire, right? Cloven tongues of fire, right? So smoke and fire was the tabernacle. Yahweh was tabernacling with his people. He was leading them by pillar of fire. Led through the wilderness, 40-year wandering. This is where I'm going to stop right here. Okay. My claim is this, that we've been in the 40-year wandering for the last 1,960 years. And what I'm going to do real quick, I'll pull up a calculator just to show you. It's really simple. I'm of the mindset of if a child can't understand it, it's probably not biblically correct. So we know Jerusalem's judgment. So I'm equating Jerusalem with Egypt here. Jerusalem was judged in the same way that Egypt was judged. Israel was freed from Egypt, brought into the wilderness. They were given the law. The law was written on tablets of stone, right, for Israel in the wilderness. Now the law is being written on our hearts, right? And at Pentecost, this was the law given. At Pentecost was the Spirit of the Lord given. Now, did Israel enter into the promised land right away? No, due to lack of belief. They wandered for 40 years in the wilderness, which is one biblical generation. Okay, I think we've been in that generation, the 40 years. And this is what I think, real quick. This is just real quick. Okay? If you take 40 years times what we're told to count by in Exodus, the Jubilee cycles, 7 times 7 years, which is 49s. And then the 50th year is the Jubilee, right? Which is the first year of the next 49. So if you take 40 times 49, okay, you get 1,960 years. If the Exodus took place in Jerusalem, the Exodus from the religious system of Judaism and the Jewish Talmud and stuff, to free his people from that, that's what I'm talking about. If you go from 70 AD plus 70, that brings us to, oh, that's not correct. What did I do right there? Okay, 40 times 49 equals 1,960 plus 70 AD brings us to the year 2030. And I'm sure you've heard, and I'm not setting a date, I don't even know like what happens at 2030. I'm not even saying that's the end, because when they crossed over the Jordan, what had to happen? Well, look, I have right here, conquest. And I would call that probably judgment of the whole world. And who does the conquesting? Well, it's Yeshua. Who led Israel into the promised land? It wasn't Moses. It was Joshua. Who leads us into the promised land? It's Yeshua, Joshua. It's the same name, literally the same name. And so you can take that however you want. I'm not saying I know what's going to happen, but I'm saying that perhaps in the year 2030, we're going to see something happen. Because, like I said, it's been written down from the beginning to the end. And I'm not overcomplicating this. This is really, really easy to understand. Yeshua was born in 3 AD or 3 BC, and then he died in 30 AD. And this is, a lot of people would agree with that. I have reasons why I think that. The Revelation 12 sign happened in 3 BC. And anyways, so if he died in 30 AD, crucified and rose again, then the final generation began in 1990. Honestly, that's the year I was born, which is freaking nuts. But final generation is now, I think. And I don't agree that there's going to be global cataclysm in the same way as the heliocentrists do. I think that but what the Bible says is the firmament opens up, stars fall from heaven. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening. And what that guy was saying is that he thinks the earth is going to tilt on its side. And the poles are going to be at the equator, basically, is what he's saying. So the sun, and he even says the sun's going to go dark for 3 days. And it's like, what the heck? Like a lot of similarities to a lot of this stuff. I might do a more in-depth teaching on this, depending on what people, what people think about it. Anyways, so that's basically it. I think if you look up these verses, Jeremiah 31, 7 through 11, the Greater Exodus, if you've never heard of it, I've heard a lot of teachings on it, and people literally think like we're going to physically be journeying to the land of Israel and stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't. If we are, we're going to be led by Yeshua himself or the angels or someone. I think, and I could show you that biblically, but I don't have time right now. People have done series on this and they're like hours and hours and hours long. I just wanted to get on real quick and just reassure everyone that there's a plan in place, that Yeshua is in charge. He will judge the world. It's not going to be some solar flare taking you out. Maybe he'll use a solar flare of sorts to destroy the wicked, right, with fire. But yeah, so here's our timeline. I mean, we've been given this timeline over and over. Let's just pull up some of these verses. Jeremiah 31, 7 through 11. Here we go. Jeremiah 37. All right. 37. Verse, what did I say? 7 through 11. All right, here we are. Okay, I got it up here on eSword. This is awesome application if you guys don't have it. Here we are. Thus says Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, say this to the sovereign of Judah, who sent you to me to inquire of me. See, Pharaoh's army, which has come up to help you, shall turn back to Egypt, Mitzrayim, to their own land, and the Kasdim shall return and fight against the city and take it and burn it with fire. Thus says Yahweh, do not deceive yourselves, saying, the Kasdim shall go away from us. Maybe I should use the ESV for everyone's sake. Okay, we're on verse 9. The Chaldeans will surely go. That's what that is. Chaldeans will surely go away from us, for they will not go away. For even if you should defeat the whole army of... Is this the right verse? 7. Oh, I'm in Jeremiah 37. I failed that miserably. All right. Thus says the Lord, sing aloud with gladness for Jacob, and raise shouts for the chief of the nations. Proclaim, give praise, says the Lord. Save your people, the remnant of Israel. Behold, I will bring them from the north country and gather them from the furthest parts of the earth. Among them, the blind, the lame, the pregnant woman, she who is in labor together, a great company. They shall return here. That she who is in labor is an interesting parallel to Revelation 12, the woman in labor. Hosea 6, maybe. Anyways, Hosea 6, Hosea 1, I think, actually. With weeping they shall come, and with pleas of mercy I will lead them back. I will lead them back. I will make them walk by brooks of water, a straight path which they shall not stumble, for I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. Now, if you don't know Ephraim, Ephraim is synonymous with Israel. So in the time of Egypt, right, when they were in Egypt, Joseph, the son of Jacob, who is Israel, Joseph was sold into slavery into Egypt, and then he ends up saving his whole family because he became second in command to Pharaoh, and he saved the whole world, actually. In a time of drought, he spread the seed, the word, the seed to the whole earth and saved them in a 7-year famine. Anyhow, so they're in Egypt, and Jacob travels to Egypt and sojourns there and lives there. His whole family, and Joseph's whole family moves to Egypt. They all live there. Joseph had Egyptian children because he was living in Egypt, and he had an Egyptian wife, and he had Egyptian children. And Jacob, who is Israel, adopted Ephraim and Manasseh, the two sons of Joseph, as his own. That's what it says. And it says Ephraim as his firstborn. And this is what you see here. Ephraim is my firstborn. Now that's the fullness of the Gentiles. This is what is prophesied in Exodus. He shall become the fullness of the nations. And that's exactly what Paul says. You are until the fullness of the nations is complete. That's us. That's us. Anyways, so there's that right there. Isaiah 11:11. Okay, Isaiah 11:11. I will have to do a bit more concise teaching than this. I'll just read one more verse and I'll be done. In that day the Lord will extend his hand yet a second time to recover the remnant, a second time, the remnant that remains of his people from Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush, from Elam, from Shinar is Babylon, right? Hamath, from the coastlands of the sea. He will raise a signal for the nations and will assemble the banished of Israel and gather the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The jealousy of Ephraim, see, he's distinguishing between Judah and Ephraim here, shall depart. Those who harass Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not be jealous of Judah, and Judah shall not harass Ephraim, but they shall swoop down on the shoulder of the Philistines of the west, plunder the people of the east. They shall put out their hand against Edom and Moab, and the Ammonites shall obey them. So lots of people equate this with the greater Exodus. There are so many verses about this, honestly. And I just want to encourage people, don't freak out. It's under control. Just walk with Yah and live in obedience to him, and have peace and trust and patience. And I'm not saying don't prepare for what's happening, and have your wits about you. Of course, like the deception can deceive even the elect, right? And so I think the deception has been here. It's already here, right? A big part of it is all the tentacles of these global elite class. I would say heliocentrism is a huge aspect of that. Scientism has deceived a lot of people. Religion is really the greatest deception, though. It's, Yeshua, Jesus, was not a religious Jew. That's why they crucified him. He also wasn't a Christian. He was not. He was not a Christian in the same way as people are Christians now. And it's great if you have a faith in Jesus, that's awesome. But look at his life. Look at what he did. Look at what he taught. Look at how he walked. As John says, if you love him, you will keep his commandments and walk even as he walked. And we covered that a bit in the last couple videos. He never changes his mind. I'm hoping to, kind of be on top of the news this year. And with the election, if there's going to be one, if there's even going to be one, who knows? And I don't like politics. However, I'll track it. I don't really vote. I don't know if it does any good anyways, but yeah. Stay on top of it, friends, and just have peace, have patience, know who's in control, and yeah, have faith, walk. And that's it. That's my encouragement today. I know there's a lot going on, and if you can, detox, man. Get some health going. Get stuff out of your body that should not be in your body, and there's some good places to do that. I would follow the channel Wits It Gets It. He's on top of that stuff, like the health stuff. He has detoxing methods and supplements and stuff that you could even get. Don't get sucked into what the news is saying. Don't get freaked out by solar flares. Don't get deceived by aliens. There are Elohim out there. There are descendants of Nephilim out there. But don't fall into the trap of these things are coming from another planet and that they're wise, they're going to save us. And be wary of artificial intelligence. There's so much to talk about, man. I don't even know how to stop talking about it. But yeah, don't freak out. Just relax. You're good. If you're in the hands of Yah, you're good. So, yeah. Peace.